we've got a special guest to bring to you to give us the feeling with Inside Madrid of the lowdown of Conor Gallagher. Obviously, Spurs signed Conor Gallagher yesterday for 40 million euros. And we have got Charlie Porro, Atleti Madrid season ticket holder, to give us his thoughts regarding the situation with Inside Madrid. Charlie, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hi, thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Thanks for taking your time to come on today. So obviously Spurs and Atleti have done some business in the past. Obviously the last player I think we bought off you worked out pretty well for us, Toby Alderweireld. And I think the last player we actually sold you directly was Kieran Trippier, which obviously didn't work out too badly for you as well. Are we going to have the same with Conor Gallagher?
Oh, I expect it. I think this is a really good trade for us. I think it's a really good trade for you also. So I think this is a really good market move.
Why do you think Atletico are so keen to get rid of Conor Gallagher? Why do you think they don't want to keep him?
Oh, I don't think maybe that's not the question. I think Atletico, maybe he wants it, but I don't think he's gonna fit really good in our lineup. I think Simeone prefers more than a 6 than an 8, like Gallagher, maybe some playmaker, so he can move the midfire. So Gallagher is a Premier League player for me. I think he all his career he played on the Premier League. I think in the Tottenham he's gonna fit better, and is a really expensive player maybe for our club. So for 40 millions, I think it's better to take it out than keep it, and maybe try to take another player like I told it, like Zubimendi. Maybe Zubimendi is a better option for us.
I mean, I think everyone at Tottenham would love you to take Zubimendi, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be an actual, viable option, because he's just signed for Arsenal and he's doing very well there. But it looks as though in the press that Atleti could be going for João Gomez of Wolves, which could be a decent option. But, Atleti put their money where their mouth is last summer and signed him for close to 40 million euros off Chelsea. He played a lot of minutes last season, starting quite a lot of games. But this season, he's been only 4 starts in La Liga. Is that mainly due to the tactical fit? Is there anything else that we should know about?
No, I think the only problem is like Simeone doesn't know how to play with it. I know he's a really talented player. I know he's so physical. He can do high pressing recoveries, and maybe that's not what we are looking for. Maybe I don't know. I don't know why I'm not like a technical, but I think it's a profile player that not for Atletico de Madrid. Last season he played good, but we don't win anything. We're still on Champions League, but maybe we want to do like one more step up. So we have to do some moves to try to be there again.
He seemed to be quite well liked at Atletico by the fans. They even had a nickname for him. I think it translates to the English pitbull. In translating Spanish. So, do you think the Atletico fans are sad to see him go? Are you sad to see him go?
I think he have a lot of fans, but I think the real Atletico de Madrid fans wants him to go. Or for him, because he deserves more minutes. He deserves to be in a starting lineup, and for us, because like what I say, is a really expensive player. Our club is not like Real Madrid or Football Club Barcelona that have that big amount of money to spend, and we already spent a lot of money these 2 years back. So I think for real Atletico de Madrid fans who wants to win, it's a really good move.
Yeah, it's interesting in terms of where he's fitted in with Simeone, because Simeone seemed to have used him everywhere, where in the middle, on the left-hand side. At Chelsea, his best football came maybe in the 10, just behind the strikers, and the same when he was on loan at Crystal Palace just before he made his name at Chelsea. Where do you think Atleti fans saw the best of Conor Gallagher? Which position?
Oh, I think it's better. So you asked me what position is better for Conor Gallagher?
Yeah,
You asked me that?
yeah,
Yeah, I thought he has to play like an eight. He have to, like what I say, do high pressing. He have to be moving all the time. He will have to have all team pressing, all team doing physical movements. Mm, I know that. And from Atletico Madrid, we don't need that because our players like Julian Alvarez is really play. It's a team like needs a playmaker more than a physical game. Mm, I don't know how to explain it in English maybe, but that's all what I think.
Yeah, I understand. You want someone who's maybe a bit calmer on the ball, a bit more of a technical passer, and Gallagher is a bit more physical. He runs around a lot, but his passing maybe lets him down. Is that
Hmm.
fair to say? You think? Because a lot of fans, Tottenham fans, are worried that he's not that good with the ball at his feet, and he's not so good with his passing. Do you think that's something? Do you think that's something he struggles with?
Yeah, and I think for Tottenham, what I see when I see Tottenham plays, I know he high pressing all the time.
Mm.
I I think like that guy Betancourt
Yeah,
is injured, right?
yeah,
yeah.
So I don't know how much time is going to be out, but for a few months minimum, so he can cover that space on the lineup
mm.
now. So I think for you is a really good option, and he's a guy who plays all his life in the Premier League. I know he come from Crystal Palace, Chelsea,
Yeah,
and West Brom, I think.
yeah.
So, uh, English guy, he have to play on there.
Yeah. I think as well. Where do you think? Do you think he really fitted in at Atletico as in terms of moving to Spain? Do you think he was always more at home in England? Do you feel?
Yeah, I think he's not going to fit like in a Spanish team like he gonna fit on a Premier League team,
Do you,
I
definitely.
see.
do you think? Obviously, you've only had him for a year and a half. Do you think that maybe the bedding in period wasn't long enough? Maybe he needed a bit more time to acclimatise to the way that Atletico need to play, or is it just good just to separate ways now and send him back to England?
Maybe. I mean, obviously, if this guy is gonna stay here for 5 years, he gonna fit better than now. But also, I think he's not that young. He's already 25 years. He have to make some moves now. If he waits 3 more years, maybe he's close to the 30s. So he have to go to a team where he can compete, where he can have some minutes to play, and I think that's good for him also.
So when you look at this transfer, do you see it? What overall was it? Has he been a failure at Atletico, or is it just a matter of sometimes it's just not the right fit?
No, I don't think he's a failure. I think he come from score a goal mm, 2 weeks ago. He have some assists this year. I know he's having a real impact on our game, but maybe it's not where we are expecting for a 40 million player. So if we can get that free space salary now, so we can look something when the season ends better for us. I think that will be great.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when I think of Simeone football and when I think of the teams that Simeone has built at Atletico, it's always hard-working, pressing, biting the challenge, very aggressive players, and I feel like that's what Conor Gallagher is. I thought Conor Gallagher was going to be a really good fit for Simeone Atletico. It's interesting why it hasn't worked out. I mean, you say maybe because he's not good enough on the ball, but in terms of the fundamentals that he has, to me, he seems like a real Simeone player. Is that not the case?
I don't see it. I mean, Simeone wants to do really technical football, and I know Conor Gallagher can do that. I know he's a really talented player, but I think it's not like his big. Um, I don't know how to say it, but I
Attribute.
think he's yeah. That's so his big attribute maybe is like his physical more than his talented
Mm.
football strategy. I don't know. So I think all. It's not like a Simeone player. I don't think so.
Are there any fans you speak to that think this is a bad deal, that you should keep him, or are most Atletico fans in agreement that it's right to sell?
Yeah, what I read on Twitter on X and it's I think on podcasts from X that like that spaces where Atletico Madrid fans talks, they're always like thinking this is a good movement for us. In because the money because I
Mm.
think it's a lot of money for our club like what I'd say
Hmm.
so not looking into the player more looking into the team I think the money is the first I don't know how to say it
Priority,
but
yeah, like it's the
yeah
main thing, main
it's
reason.
yeah the main reason yeah.
All right, Charlie, thanks for your really good insight into Conor Gallagher's time at Atletico. It seems as though everyone just thinks this is a good move all round. Atletico happy to sell, Spurs happy to buy. The fans, I mean, Atletico fans happy to move him back to England to get the money in, and I say some Spurs fans happy to see him through the door at Tottenham as well. So yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming on, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry for the English people if he
No, it's
doesn't
great. It's great. Thank you.
understand me really good, but I
Everyone
try my
understood
best.
perfectly. Thanks a lot, Charlie.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
your
much.
time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Cheers. Bye. And that was Charlie giving us
so-
his insight into Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, but it's interesting to hear him say that they appreciate him as a player. They think he's a good player, but it's just not the right fit. Sometimes that's how it is. But as you say, it's quite surprising that is the case because we did expect him to be someone kind of perfect for Simeone, but it seems as though Simeone didn't think he was technical enough. But to be fair for Simeone, as much as he's got a reputation, and rightly so, for being this aggressive, organised unit of a team, they did always have very technical players in the middle, like Koke, like Raul Garcia. That,
But it's also
they've always had quite technical players.
It's
there.
also Sim like whenever we see Atletico play, it's always those games where they have to be backs against the wall in the big games, against the Real Madrids in the latter stage of the Champions League. But actually, probably when you watch them week in, week out in La Liga, they're probably not like that week in, week out.
Yeah, because most of the time they're on the front foot and they're
Exactly.
attacking. But I'm saying, even if you look at his past teams, most of his centre mids have always been quite technical. Even they've had a nice blend, and maybe just Gallagher meets the physical part, but quite hasn't met that technical part that Simeone requires. It seems.
Yeah, it seems that way. And with Spurs' need for that more technical player in the middle of the park, obviously, it remains to be seen how the Spurs fans. I think the Spurs fans will take to him just because of the type of player he is, not in terms of his on the ball stuff, but his off the ball stuff. I think Spurs fans love a bit of that. But if Spurs don't bring in that ball player in the middle of the park, it's not going to fulfill the needs that we have in the squad, and that's the reality that comes down to. But it does up the level of the squad, and it does up the level of the first team. So this in itself, if this is an isolated signing, it's a good signing. But if this is it, and that's part of the bigger picture of Spurs building their squad, then it's not going to be good enough.
I do wonder if Tottenham are looking at the situation with Decky, with Maddison. Obviously, Xavi's now in the door. Do you reckon there's a feeling, once we have all of those players available, there's going to be enough technical ability in that midfield, one way or another, and that's why we're focusing on upgrading those positions? Or is that the right way to feel? Should we be thinking right now, those players aren't available, you can't trust them, and to be available, we're going to need to sign someone in the short term to fulfill that role. But I think when you're looking at a long-term squad planning point of view, I wonder if there is a feeling within the squad that those players, once they're back, will be enough.
I mean, I get that, but those are players more higher up the pitch. Maddison's a 10, Decky's a 10 or a right winger. We need someone from deep that can play the ball. And we don't have that at all in the squad, injured or not injured. So from a squad planning point of view, I don't think it makes sense not to go for a play like that, because it's a clear profile that we're missing in the squad. So regardless of Maddison and Decky.
I just hope we get one in this window. Look, it's a weird one though, for in terms of a lot of fans complaining, because when Tottenham fans talk about being ruthless in the window and stuff like that, is signings like Gallagher not kind of evidence of that? As much as yes, we want to pass them, maybe that's also in the plan. I'm sure the club knows. I as much as I posited just before that maybe there's a feeling, I'm sure the club knows that a deep line playmaker is something that we need. Like, is upgrading when we can, shouldn't that be seen as just purely a positive thing?
Well, that's what I see. I see it as a positive, but I think a lot of fans, not just Spurs fans, when there's a desperate need for a certain profile and player in the squad, and you don't get that as your first signing of the window, they'll be like, why are we prioritising this guy and not going for the signing that we desperately need? And I get it to a certain extent.
It's a bit PTSD, isn't it? It's a bit like because of what's happened before.
But I've seen it with other fans around the Premier League, not just Spurs fans, being like, why are we prioritising this, not that? And then by the end of it, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. I think the long-term vision and the long-term by the summer will be definitely to fill that profile. But I agree, like, it's particularly when you've got so many injuries in the squad with Bentancur and Bergvall injured now, like, and Sarr, obviously he's back from the AFCON, but he's not having a great season. Like, I think it's a good signing, and I think, like I said before, I think it ups the level, but it shouldn't neglect the fact of what we need still in the squad.
Yeah, I think those are two separate issues. I think people, as you say, converge the two a bit too much. They say because we need this, that means Gallagher's a bad signing and it's not what we need. I think we need both. I think we all know, as much as I like some of the other players we have, unfortunately, they just haven't done it over the last 2 years, and we've needed a bit more, even when it comes from energy point of view and a bit more technical ability from our eights. I love Bergvall, I love Sarr, I like Gray, but unfortunately, if we're being completely honest, as much as they're very good players and good prospects, are they top 6 level players right now? Probably not. So I think that's the problem we have.
Yeah.
I think they're all got potential to be in the near future, and maybe with a bit more development, they're not too far off it. But right now, they're not that. Now the question is it going to stunt their development? That's also a good argument, and that's something we're going to have to contend with. But if we're talking about fans wanting the club to be ruthless and wanting the club to just do whatever's necessary to upgrade and get the players ready now, all this kind of stuff, this does represent that.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, that was the Atleti fans' take on Conor Gallagher. It seems everyone's just happy all round, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Atleti's are happy to see the back of him, which ain't great, to be honest. But I can understand it to a certain point, certain perspective.